Knocks for Wrexham, and there it is. Red delight in North Wales. First major trophy for Wrexham. The celebrations can begin. Here we go. What next? The celebrations begin. A huge congratulations to Wrexham.
More chips don't let the salad win. That's the message in terms of nature of the food maybe that we consume in Wales.
It's Wrexham.
The magic little man, Watkin. Oh, he scored! Steve Watkin has got a goal!
Ball breaks for Foden, it's in early, as Rush likes it, and he'll chase it, he'll collect it, Ian Rush!
Bennett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Well, classic, changing defence into attack.
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham, Carl Conley's done it!
Crumble for options, put it back to Morels. Oh, it's a good save! Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Morel. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Juan Ugarte, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
And here's Mendy! There's that race-class roar again! Saved by Foster!
Wales are going to the Euros next summer. Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women.
Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted! They have their storybook ending!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast, one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. In a week when a New York City man who attempted to claim ownership of the New York hotel has pleaded guilty to fraud, ending a lengthy legal saga involving an obscure tenant law that allowed the man to live rent-free for 6 years in the storied Manhattan hotel. Mickey Barretto entered a plea on Wednesday admitting that he had forged property records in an effort to take ownership of the hotel. That effort was, at least on paper, partially successful. In Barretto's telling, he and his boyfriend paid $200 in 2018 to rent one of the more than 1,000 rooms in the towering, off-photograph Art Deco hotel. Barretto then requested a lease, claiming his one-night stay entitled him to protections under a city housing law that applies to single-room occupants of buildings constructed before 1969. When the hotel rebuffed him, he took his case to the housing court, and after the hotel failed to send a lawyer to a key hearing, Barretto was awarded possession of the room. But Manhattan prosecutors said Barretto then went a little bit too far, defrauding the state by uploading a fake deed to a city website that purported to transfer ownership of the entire building to himself. Barretto then attempted to collect rent from a hotel tenant and demanded the hotel's bank transfer its accounts to him, according to prosecutors. He was eventually evicted from the premises in 2024 and charged with multiple accounts of felony fraud. He was later found unfit to stand trial and ordered to undergo psychiatric treatment. As part of the plea, Barretto was sentenced to a 6-month prison sentence that he had already served, along with 5 years of probation, according to a spokesperson from the Manhattan District Attorney. Now, I wonder what kind of TripAdvisor mark you would give that for staying in the same room for 6 years. I'm not sure, whether it would be very good or not, but maybe he just needs these two bellboys with some room service. It's Jamie and Taz.
Where do you find this shit, honestly?
Oh,
honestly.
I control lots of areas.
Do me a favour, right? If anyone is listening or watching this now, full on YouTube spec here, hit the comments and tell me, do you actually fucking listen to the shit he spouts at the beginning of these podcasts? Because I don't.
And if you don't, or do, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. So yeah,
you're going to tell me, Jamie, that you're one of those guys that doesn't listen to Victoria Corrin at the beginning of Only Connect either.
He can't watch Only Connect, Daz. That's far too highbrow for him. He wouldn't get
that. That's possibly true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks.
Gentlemen, welcome. You know, in football, some weeks you think, oh, well, I'm not really having fun. Boy, what a week Wrexham have had this week. Oh, my life. We'll talk about all the games this week. But I just got to say, Jamie, we mocked you last week for saying that Wrexham would beat Ipswich 3-1. How wrong could we have been? So,
yes, you did. You mocked me.
Public apology for that one. We'll get to talk about that. First of all, though, obviously, Wrexham players George Dobson and Ollie Rathbone this week signed new contracts. George Dobson has signed a new contract for the club to end in the 27-28 season. Dobson has previously played for Phil Parkinson at Sunderland, signed for Wrexham in July 2024, following 144 appearances for Charlton Athletic. The midfielder made his competitive debut in Wrexham's 3-2 win over Wycombe Wanderers in August 2024, playing an important role in the club's Sky Bet League One promotion success that campaign. Dobson has gone on to make 83 appearances for Wrexham, scoring 3 goals in the process. Ollie Rathbone has also signed a new contract with the club, also ending at the end of the 27-28 season. A product of Manchester United's academy, Rathbone joined Wrexham in August 2024, following 128 appearances for Rotherham United, where he secured promotion to the Sky Bet Championship and won the EFL Trophy that year. Making his Wrexham debut against Sheffield United in the League Cup in August 2024, Rathbone has gone on to make 64 appearances for Wrexham, scoring 14 goals, securing promotion from Sky Bet League One and winning the club's Player of the Season award for 24-25. Rathbone's most recent strike came away at Bristol City in the Sky Bet Championship in a hard-fought draw for Phil Parkinson's men. Jamie, this is the perfect information, news you want to hear as we're running in. We are still in the top 6. 2 key influential players this season. George Dobson first. He's been quite the surprise, hasn't he? Because we didn't think he was going to be this involved, but boy, what a difference he's making.
Just before I answer that, can I just compliment Daz on his lighting setup? Because it's you look like the Bohemian Rhapsody video. It's superb. Honestly, you just need 3 other blokes around you now. It'd be really brilliant.
I haven't got any friends, so I was taking more inspiration from Holly from Red Dwarf, to be honest. So, yeah.
I've only just thought it says this space look very good. Dobson, he has been a big surprise. A pleasant surprise, I think. I think understandably there were, we all probably had question marks over both him and Rathbone. Could they make the step up? It's a big step up into the Championship. You look at the squad as a whole and the amount of players that we brought in to try and compete at this level. That kind of tells its own story of the the step in quality that we were going to be facing. Dobbo was I think for the first half of the season, or certainly up till Christmas, he was arguably up there for player of the season contender. Obviously, dropped out the team a little bit, maybe unfairly. You could argue and say maybe unfairly because he hadn't really done too much wrong. But no, he's been brilliant this season.
But we need him at the moment, don't we, Jamie? We need him at the moment.
Yeah, but I also think we should just we should wish the happy couple all best. This photograph scenario does feel a little bit, when you go to the registry room. Just saying. I'd be proud of that as an engagement shot. I'll be honest. It's just engaged. You're right. We do need him at the minute. Obviously, bad time of the year to get injuries to 2 key players. I think the only slight thing is I'm not quite sure he's the same type of player as Sheaf and Matty James. He's as much as he buzzes around, breaks up play, and he's got a good pass in him. I don't think he's quite got the ability to dictate a game like those 2 have. But positionally, yes, absolutely, we need him, and he'll probably get a lot of game time now between now and the end of the season.
Daz, Ollie Rathbone, young player, made his mark last year as they've got player of the season. Then was injured, got injured pre-season, been out half the season, but come back, made a massive difference since he has come back. And I'm going to say it, I know everybody says it, for me, he's a Mickey Thomas clone. He's got the curly hair. He's got that midfield position. He's fast. He scores goals. He's aggressive when he needs to be. I mean, is that just me, or do you have Mickey Thomas vibes about him?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, obviously, are you saying he's short as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think there is a little bit of that. I mean, did you say he was young? I thought he was closer to 30 than he was closer to 20. So
I'm pretty sure he's in his mid-20s, isn't he? I'll have to look it up now.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, it doesn't take it away from the fact that he's brought so much to the team. He's performed brilliantly. Injury aside, I mean, that was sort of an.
He's 29. He's 29.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh.
Okay, well done, Daz.
You don't get a point. You don't get a point in the chip shop league for that.
I know. I know. I could do with all of them at the moment. No, I think the idea that that it's quite interesting when you get like these contract extensions sort of mid-season and stuff. There's a lot to be said about it as well, isn't it, in terms of motivation and appreciation for the players that have been achieving, and I think that just says a lot about what the team, what Parky thinks of these players as well. But you're right, Rathbone, as when he comes on, he is one of your genuine, game changers in the moments when, if you're looking for something that's different. I know you can have, a goal scorer up front, yes, but there's just something about having a midfielder who can make the difference, and what a peg he's got on him. Some of those goals he's had this season, and last, have been phenomenal. So a quality player, and just rewards.
It does have to be said though. Sorry, it does have to be said though. I've got no issues with these new contracts from the point of view of recognition for what they've contributed this season. I'm sure the financial remuneration to them is significantly improved on what it was before, and probably puts them more on a par with these players we've brought in. I was a little bit surprised at the timing and the length of these deals, though. I have to be honest, because the slight concern here from the club's perspective is, by giving these new deals now, if we again, big if, but imagine if we did get promoted again this season, you could end up in a situation here with these two where you're in the same boat as you were with Elliot Lee, Paul Mullin, Ollie Palmer, Mendy, all these other players that were given contract extensions. It's I absolutely have no issues with them having them from the point of view of like I say, the financial remuneration, but the length of them and the timing is a little bit. I was surprised at the timing and the length of the contracts, if I'm honest.
So Saturday at the Stoke Kairos, Jamie and I were there to see Wrexham host Ipswich Town in the latest game in the Sky Bet Championship. Jamie, let's look at the lineup first. Two changes from the draw at Bristol City. Windass in for Broadhead, Moore in for Smith. Are you surprised he didn't kind of turn it over more, as in put more players in, change maybe somebody at the back, bring in a Scar, or you kind of thinking, do you know what, he's kind of locking in now his kind of starting 11?
No, I think after the Bristol game, I wasn't too surprised at this. This lineup. I think obviously Kiefer Moore coming back, and I think he seems to be doing a good job of rotating Moore and Smith at the minute to obviously give them both game time, and it helps the fact that they're both scoring goals. So having a situation where you can rotate them and keep them fresher is a good thing. I think Windass coming in for Broadhead, not a huge surprise. Again, it's that whole rotation thing. The games are coming thick and fast now, aren't they? So there's going to be elements of rotation in key areas. The defensive side's a difficult one, because as much as I still kind of think or thought maybe that the plan was to bring Viner into that back three somewhere. It's one of them. Even though we are struggling to keep a clean sheet at the minute, we're better defensively than we're not, if that makes sense. So it's almost kind of upsetting the apple cart unnecessarily. I don't think any of the back three have done anything significantly bad to justify being dropped. So I wasn't hugely surprised by the lineup.
Well, as I said earlier, we mocked Jamie when he did his score prediction last week of 3-1. But actually, it was even more entertaining than that. I mean, We thought maybe that after the FA Cup game where we kind of squeaked it 1-0, Ipswich had put all their eggs in the basket, saying, pretty much indicating, well, we don't care about the cup. We're going to concentrate on the league. We thought they would come in hard. They did. They made 10 changes. They kind of brought in their main starting 11 from that point. Only really Philogene was the one who was missing because he was injured. But, you still had Jack Clark and the likes of those. So we knew we were in for a tough game. But Wrexham started exceptionally well. Moore and Windass combined after just 6 minutes to give Wrexham the lead. Windass's headed flick on found Moore, who charged down on the goal before unleashing a left-footed strike beyond Kristen Walton to end his 8-game run without a goal. Jamie, what a start. What a start. 6 minutes in, we thought, we've always said, haven't we? Me and you sit there and we always go, Wrexham need to hit these teams hard and fast. Lay one on them, impose on them. We're at home. We should be dominant. And we've kind of rarely we've rarely seen that. We've kind of seen Wrexham more trying to feel out the opposition and try and work well. Totally opposite on Saturday. They went out like a bull at a gate, didn't they?
Yeah, they came out the blocks fast. But it always helps getting an early goal, and I think that FIFA Moore goal, obviously, we all celebrated with great joy when he put that in the back of the net, because it was a bit of a surprise. It was from the angle that he was at, and again, it's that whole pigeonhole him as just being a big sort of lump up in the middle, and he doesn't score goals like that. But I tell you something, right? Watch that goal back. I've watched it several times, and it was a very underappreciated goal on the day, I think, by most people, because when you've only seen it once, in the stadium, in real time, you can't appreciate how good of a strike that was. I mean, it was absolutely superb. Such a good finish, and yes, a great start to the game, and it really set the tone for what turned out to be a good half for us.
And Daz, putting the Cymru hat on, that's what we want to see from Kiefer, isn't it? Because we need that in the up-and-coming semi-final and final in next month.
Yeah, I mean, we know he could do it. It's always been about fitness, though. Whether it's match fitness in terms of 90 minutes and whether it's free of injury for any significant period of time. I mean, we know that he puts it out there, though. He'll bleed for his country. He'll wear the headband forever. I assume. But the finish was phenomenal. I mean, I think when I first watched it, I thought it went into the side netting, and that's probably why half the stadium was quiet, because they just thought it must have gone into the side netting because it was an unbelievable angle. And if he's got that level of accuracy and confidence, I mean, I don't know where you get that confidence from when you haven't had the run of games. That bodes well for both club and country.
Well, Wrexham obviously did start well, but then 16 minutes in, a bit of a blow. We lost Ben Sheaf to an injury, and then Ipswich levelled not long after that, as Arthur Okonkwo could only palm Jack Taylor's strike into the path of Mehmeti, who lashed it into the roof of the net. His first goal since joining Ipswich from Bristol City in January. So we've got to say it, Jamie, because it did make a difference. Ben Sheaf going off did make a difference. We'll talk about the Ipswich goal in a second. But we've already lost Matty James. He's probably not going to be back for at least, they think, 4 weeks. Ben Sheaf's injury, from what Parky's saying, looks like it's a season ender. I mean, that's a big blow for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's gutting for him, isn't it? He came to us from Coventry with this kind of reputation as being a bit injury prone in the last couple of years. It's hard to say. Is is this them just being proven right that selling him was the right thing to do, or is it just bad luck? Who knows? It doesn't really matter. The shitty thing is that he's, like you say, he's out for the season. It definitely impacted the game. And it will be a challenge for Parky to overcome for certainly for as long as Matty James is out as well, because as much as we have bodies that can play in that defensive midfield role, capable bodies who can play in that role, like I said before, I personally think that Sheaf and James are they are quite unique in their ability to be able to control and dictate a game. And with both of them being out, that is a challenge to try and solve for Parky. But yeah, for this game, gutted that he went off and that it's a seemingly a bad injury. Hopefully, he'll get back to it sooner rather than later. But yeah, to then concede the goal, to their first goal, it was really disappointing from our perspective. We stood off him, stood off him way too much. Didn't close him down anywhere near quick enough or at all. And I'm sure Arthur would, if you asked him, he'd say he should have done better with the save, because he kind of put it into that one area which, as a goalkeeper, you're always told to if you're going to push it out, make sure you push it away. And he literally put it right back in front of the 6-yard box. And the problem then you've got is the attack has got the momentum because they're running into the goal. And it was just one of them. But look, you can't, for any sort of criticisms you may level at Ipswich on the day, you can't negate the fact that they have got quality in that side. So they were always going to come back at us.
Well, as I say, Ipswich then kind of grew a little bit in confidence from that, but Wrexham were the ones next goal, 8 minutes before the break. Thomason's shot was well saved by Walton, although Moore crossed then for Windass, who headed into the net to make it 2-1, his 10th goal of the campaign across all competitions. Moore and Callum Doyle went close to extending Wrexham's lead, but it was Ipswich who ended the half level as Wrexham failed to take those chances. Jack Taylor flicked into the path of Azon, who coolly slotted beyond Okonkwo in the first half, added time to bring to the end a frenetic period, and 2-2 at the break. Daz, 4 goals in the first half against a team like Ipswich. We're in the Premiership last year. A lot of people tipped them to get promoted back to the Premiership. Fairly good, result for a first half by Wrexham.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I didn't watch it live, but I've watched the highlights, and it seems to be that the general consensus was, actually, you probably deserve to be 2-1 up, really. Perhaps not actually level at the end of the first half. You had the more dominant period, and I can only, you guys were there, really, but it must have been sort of, it's that little bit of disappointment, that little attention to detail of being, conceding a goal that close to the end of the half when you've been in such a dominant position. And I don't know what was the mood like half time, because if it was as dominant as it sounded, the goals were great, you felt like you had a couple of chances that you should have put away, and then you let them back in. Was there a sense of, I don't know, here we go again, or same old, up against a team like Ipswich where you want to be competing?
I think there was disappointment because we'd let that goal in right at the end of the half, but I think by the display that have been in the first 45 minutes, I think a lot of Wrexham fans were feeling fairly good. I mean, I don't know whether you felt that, Jamie.
I agree. I think you're absolutely right with what you say, Daz. That we absolutely didn't deserve to go in at half time drawing. We should have gone in leading. But again, I suppose you've got to be fair and give a little bit of credit, like I was saying before, about the quality they possess. Their second goal, it was a great move. It was a lovely bit of passing and a nice finish, to be fair. And that's when you're playing against quality, that's what's going to happen if you like I say, if you have those little moments where you switch off. But yeah, absolutely, we definitely didn't deserve to be drawing at half time. And I think there was a positive atmosphere in the crowd. But there was also probably that little underlying concern about how are we going to come out in the second half, because that's becoming a bit of a theme at the minute. And, as it was proved, it was, I think, justified.
Well, as you say, Jamie, it's becoming a nasty habit of Wrexham pretty much coming out of the dressing room, but not coming out of the dressing room, because we're giving away a lot of goals early on, and there was no change in this one. I mean, George Dobson could only half clear across Kipre, then fired into the net from outside the box to put Ipswich in front on 47 minutes. Very much the same as when we talk about Portsmouth in a second. They scored quite soon after the break. Bristol City, the same. I mean, Jamie, is this a problem, or are we putting something in our heads that is actually not there?
Well, you'd have to say it was. You would have to say it is a bit of an issue, because it's not one-off, is it? There's been several games recently, but several games throughout the season where this has happened. The difficulty is, I suppose, you're never going to dominate a game for 90 minutes, but the challenge is we've got to try and find a reason for why we are seeming to take our foot off the gas after the halftime break, because you know, if it's against the team and they're just, you know, they attack you for 5 or 10 minutes, but it doesn't translate into anything, I suppose fair enough, you just live with it. But we're conceding goals from it, which you know is a problem. I mean, you know, these 2 games which we're talking about this week, thankfully in both games the same thing happened where the opposition scored just after half time. But thankfully in both cases we got away with it. But it hasn't been like that in every game, and you know, if you carry on starting the second half's cold, it's going to catch up with you, you know, eventually. But again, you know, like I keep saying, trying to be fair, you've got to give a little bit of credit to the lad for that finish, because that was a superb finish from a centre back as well. You know, I think from our point of view, you would. I'm sure Parky, you know, would be sort of constructively critical to George Dobson, because you know, he's got to do better with the clearance. It was a poor clearance, and I think Josh Windass got to do better. You know, a little bit more determination in closing him down. But what a strike that was! It was a brilliant finish, to be fair.
Well, I mean, Wrexham did manage to regain control. Ipswich had Walton to thank for saving a Thomason strike after the left wing back expertly found by Windass. Then the goalkeeper was in the centre of controversy from a resulting corner as he collided with Wrexham defender Doyle. And although referee Lee Dougherty did not feel the incident warranted a spot kick, a lot of Wrexham fans did. I've watched this back. It's a nail-on penalty for me. Over to our PGMOL representative, Mr. Daz James. Daz, penalty or no penalty for you?
I'll be honest, I don't remember that.
So the goalkeeper basically came out. It's the photograph is in the top right as you're looking at the page there. He basically came out to punch the ball, completely missed the ball, and just clattered Doyle in the side of the head. I mean, Jamie, we said at the time the ground shelled at penalty. We were getting messages from people watching away from the ground saying it was a penalty. I've watched it back. I thought it was a penalty. What do you think?
Not only was it a stalwart penalty, but he should have been done for GBH. It was, you know, it's the most blatant. Goalkeepers are frustratingly protected in this day and age. And I'm not saying we need to, you know, we should go back to the old days where literally players were, you know, goalkeepers would catch it and players would barrel into them when they had the ball in their hands into the back of the net and they'd be given as a goal. I'm not saying we need to go back to them levels, but the goalkeepers are frustratingly protected these days. And the bottom line is with that is the goalkeeper made the decision in his area to come out to try and claim, in this case, punch that ball. He got it completely wrong, was nowhere near the ball, and all he did was literally take out Callum Doyle. It was a 1,000,000% a penalty. We thought it was when we saw it live, as did, you know, the rest of the stadium. How on earth the referee and certainly the linesman has not seen that, because obviously the linesman was looking across the box at it, is absolutely beyond me. Thankfully, it's not in the end, it's not a decision that we're going to be talking about too much. It'll, you know, we mention it and forget and move on because of what happened after, but it could have been very different.
We'll get your reaction another time then, Daz, if you get a chance to see it. But
yeah, well, I was just saying, I watched the extended highlights and I don't recall that at all.
Wasn't on there.
Well, in which case, I suppose even Sky Sports didn't think it was worthy of a penalty, because otherwise they would have put the controversy into. Was it? Did you watch Sky Sports' highlights, or did you watch the highlights that are on the club website? Both, because the Sky Sports is only like 2.5 minutes, and the club one is about 10 minutes. And I watched the 10-minute one, and it wasn't even in that either from the club.
Maybe they obviously didn't think it was a penalty either, or they just don't want to, you know, court controversy.
Yeah.
Who knows? But anyway, Wrexham, I think that probably angered to Wrexham because they seemed to lift their game, and they made it 3-3 in the 66th minute. Substitute Nathan Broadhead came on, who made a massive difference when he came on. He really rose to the occasion against obviously his former club. Had a shot blocked, although the ball fell into the path of Thomason, who absolutely drilled it into the net to make it 3-3. I mean, Jamie, what a goal this was!
Yeah, great finish. I think it's probably just worth acknowledging, I think, the fact that you know, after we conceded that third goal quite quickly after the second half, it was nice that the response from Wrexham was really positive to see. Again, we've been critical in, at times this season where Wrexham have conceded a goal or gone behind, or whatever it might be, and have maybe not given a response that you'd want to see. It was the complete opposite with this. It was absolutely, okay, shit, we've just conceded, we're 3-2 down now, but we're going to go and get this back, and that's very much how it went. George Thomason's goal, like you say, I agree 100%. I think Broadhead, when he came on, he made a massive difference, and again, we were talking before about Kiefer Moore, and with these massive quality, these playoffs coming up for Wales very soon. It's good news for Wales as well. He definitely seems to be kind of hitting his stride a bit more now. Fortunately, it was a bit of luck from our point of view that that obviously his shot deflects right into the path of George Thomason, but again, I didn't really appreciate on the day, because again, in seeing it in real time live, you sometimes don't. When I've watched it back again, really difficult angle. That it's a really good goal, that is, because the strike to hit it, where he did from that angle and get it in.
First time strike.
Yeah,
as well.
first time as well. Very, very wet conditions. So to hit it like that first time, again, fair play. It was a great goal, and again, what was really good from that point on is there was no thought in the mind of, right, we've equalised now, let's sit back and go for the point. That you could just feel the intent from the players from that point was, we can win this, we can go on and win this, and it was set up for a brilliant finish.
Well, Wrexham did go ahead for the third time in the 75th minute. Lewis O'Brien's corner was met by Doyle as he headed beyond Walton. Ipswich then tried to press, because they realised that they were in a real game by this point, being 4-3 down. Having gone ahead a number of times, but it was former Ipswich player Nathan Broadhead who had the final say. Curled a shot beyond Walton to settle the contest 4 minutes from time, and Wrexham secured a second win in 8 days against Ipswich. Broadhead went off to celebrate, which some Ipswich fans have lost their head about a little bit. I mean, first of all, Daz, the goal again. This is what we want to see from Cymru players. What a goal by Broady! Yeah,
I mean, that's the exact sort of cool, calm, collected finish that we know he's capable of. We've seen him. I suppose we've seen him do it for Ipswich when we were kind of keeping an eye on him coming through the ranks and then getting his break for Cymru. And it's why Wrexham clearly bought him. You want to be able to get that finisher up front to complement your team that you already had Sam Smith, and so it made sense that you've got players that could play at the front, run into those channels. You have to find him as well, and I think that's been something I noticed in this game. Like, at least a couple of your goals, I think Windass was the first one, but the through balls are making a difference. Finding your players on the overlap when they're finding the channels, coming through on the wings, whatever it is. You've those killer balls through that last defensive line have been exceptional. And then when you've got a player like Broadhead coming on and fresh, with energy, and he timed that run, found the space, and you don't need to invite him to think twice about that. And brilliant finish. So the more game time he gets, though, I do think that's crucial for us for Cymru. I think the same for Moore. The more game time both of them have because of injuries or because they're not being selected, I think that only bodes well for us for a nation. But yeah, brilliant finish.
Jamie, did you understand why Ipswich fans were getting upset? Broadhead is our player. He's signed for us. He's been with us for a while. He's scored a goal for a club which he's said is his boyhood club. Why are the Ipswich fans getting? He played for Ipswich for 2 seasons, and in the end, they sidelined him, which is why he left.
Yeah, I'm not into this whole not celebrating against your old team bullshit. I'd seen some of this online, and my exact response to it was, if you score, celebrate right fucking up them. That's my response to it. I think it's not like he did a bloody Gabby Ablong Lahore and ran the whole length of the pitch and celebrated in front of them. He celebrated in front of the Wrexham fans.
Absolutely.
I think that, in all seriousness, I think there's probably maybe the odd exception to the rule. If you left the club the previous week or something like that, maybe the odd exception. But as a general rule, if you've played for a football club and then you've then moved on, that club has transferred you to another football club, then you celebrate a goal regardless of who it's against. So I don't quite know Kiefer Moore celebrated as well, and obviously he's quite highly regarded at Ipswich for what he did there. And there wasn't really much said about him. I mean, I didn't think Brody's celebration was anything more excessive than what you would want to see. In fact, his knee slide was absolutely perfect. It was the best knee slide I've seen for a long time, because he literally slid for about 7 or 8 meters and was running out of pitch, and very, very coolly got back on his feet right in front of the stand. It was perfect. But on that last goal, for me, that goal, right, that epitomised or told the story of that performance for me. That, because if you start it from when Kiefer Moore wins the ball back from their defender, I hate using this word, but he bullied that defender, and that's very much what we did on the day to Ipswich. For all the quality they've got, and I think I've seen Ipswich fans say something similar, that we wanted it more, and we were just physically stronger than them, and we bullied them at times. And Kiefer Moore bullies their defender and wins that ball back fairly. Passes, it gets back to Lewis O'Brien, and like Daz was saying, the ball to Brody, that again was a little sort of cherry on top of the cake of O'Brien's performance on the day. It was a lovely ball to Broadhead, and he's never going to miss chances like that. So yeah, for me, that goal kind of was like a visual, a little 20-second visual story that told the story of the day for me. And it was a great way to finish the game.
Well, Wrexham then ran out 5-3 winners, much to the a lot of Ipswich fans who are very, very upset. I've watched a lot of vlogs this week. To be fair, some of them are a little bit unhinged, saying about we're a tin pot club and all this kind of stuff. But most are saying, Wrexham absolutely deserved it. I'll get Jamie's take in a second. So, Daz, we have taken on what, as I said earlier, a lot of people's favourite, a lot of professionals' favourites to go back up, probably to win the championship at the start of the season. They are doing incredibly well. They're sitting third with games in hand. They're threatening for those automatic promotion places. And we ran them ragged for pretty much the whole game and beat them 5-3. We beat them the week before in the FA Cup. We held them to a draw at their place. Wrexham are that top 6 team. Are Wrexham now starting to show the potential that some have thought? Or are just the cards falling in a way that is more advantageous to Wrexham?
There's so many layers to that. Okay, so let's just talk about Ipswich as an opponent. They were missing their top striker. I seem to remember.
Well, only Philogene is the real.
I think if you look at this, if you look at the stats when he plays, when he doesn't, they are a different team. But I don't think that difference was enough to counteract what you guys did that game. So compared to the game where you played them last week, this was leagues ahead. I think you were absolutely everything clicked. Whether it was the additions of the changes that you made, it felt like a lot of that performance was increased performance levels from Wrexham, and maybe a slightly below par version of Ipswich. But I suppose you've already mentioned it's they'd be disappointed with that, because they clearly planned to reserve energy, keep players injury free, and played that weakened side in the previous game of the Cup. So they probably, as a fan base, are probably disappointed. I think the management will probably be disappointed. I think the players are disappointed, because it was all set up to be a win. So I don't think they quite expected Wrexham to be that team and achieving so much. So I think that's a real positive. Should people believe that Wrexham are a top 6? Oh, well, they are a top 6 side. They're cleanly in the top 6. Results to come yet, but there's daylight, and so it's impressive. And I'm not entirely sure any of us in this group here, let alone any of you guys as a Wrexham community, thought that this would go like as well as this. Now, you've played some of those big teams. You haven't played everybody. So there's some still key games where I think when you say the cards, is that how the cards land, you still got a key game against your Coventries and Middlesbroughs and things like that to come. But the fact that you're doing, performed well, brilliantly against Ipswich, Bristol, Millwall, maybe, Southampton's, they're the teams that you're kind of there or thereabouts, and you've had a mixture of good results against all of them. I think you've merited your place. I mean, I am surprised, but you have strengthened. You have strengthened in the summer, and you have strengthened again. So it feels like the club are doubling down on. Well, if we're this close to promotion, maybe it's worth going for. I still feel it's financially. I fear for you as a club if you then have to do what Jamie said, which is reinvest again with another level of players. This time they're not going to be the prices that you're paying for your top strikers in Broadhead or anything like that. You're going to have to pay another levy, another level of payment. I mean, I just don't know if it's financially viable, sort of sustainable and sensible. But you're in the playoffs, so go for it. Have your games, have the day out of Wembley maybe. But oh God, it's a big ask. It's a big ask. So I do fear, but I think where you are at the moment, so impressive, and I can see you staying there. You'd say there's daylight there now, and the other teams around you aren't really putting up the trees to say that they belong there more than you.
It's all right. We'll just give Mickey Mouse a shout and get him to get his black American Express card out. We'll be fine.
How much is seeing the Wrexham badge at the start of Match of the Day actually worth? How many millions is that worth?
Wow.
Jamie, I want to talk about whether we can stay in the top six when we talk about the Portsmouth game. First of all, let's just talk about this. We've taken on Ipswich, beaten them 5-3. And at times made them look average. Did the same to Coventry. Okay, there are teams we've actually played incredibly well against, both at home and on the road. A lot of pundits before the season were basically saying it's all too much for Wrexham, one step too far. They need to stay in their lane, know their place, all these kind of things. So many podcasters were saying that Phil Parkinson is out of his league and he's going to get shown up. All these things have been proven wrong so far, right? How nice is, and I'm saying this now to the Wrexham fan, how nice is it to say to people,
well, just generally day to day in life, I do that all the time.
You've met him before, right?
Yeah. Look, it's ridiculous, isn't it? We've said it before, and we'll probably say it again before and at the end of the season. It is just ridiculous. The reality is that any kind of hatred or vitriol that's kind of thrown Wrexham's way, it's just jealousy. That's all it is. It's just jealousy. If you actually speak to people who understand the game and understand football and who actually take the time to understand what's happened at Wrexham, I honestly don't believe that there's many football fans that wouldn't, want what we've got. And I think all we're doing is kind of, reaping the benefits from basically winning the lottery, because that's what we did. We won the lottery. None of us knew how it was gonna play out.
Okay. Well, can I counter that though? The lottery, yes, in terms of you've got a large sum of money, but
I meant as in Rob and Ryan getting involved.
Oh no! This is where I'm going. No, this is where I'm going with it. I think they still chose you with significant due diligence and identified, the potential, the finances, the fan base, the club, support. I think it was a real assessment, and you won out of all the choices they were looking at. Of course.
1,000,000%. These are not. They are not stupid people. They know what they're doing. Just look at. And granted, I think even in their wildest dreams, I don't think they would have thought that they would have achieved at Wrexham what they have in the time they have. So there's been a little bit of luck along the way, but you are absolutely spot on. This
whilst I use the term winning the lottery and elements of luck from our perspective as a fan base, that we were lucky to get them and take us out of the doldrums that we'd had for so long. There is a huge element of luck because like you say, they absolutely did all their due diligence and picked Wrexham for a reason, because they saw a huge opportunity there. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. But no, it's nice to be in this situation, isn't it? I mean, it's nice to be in a situation where you're talking about playing and beating Ipswich and, playing Southampton and playing Coventry and teams like this, and talking about a real possibility of getting promoted to the Premier League. Just let that sink in for a second. Potentially a prospect of getting to the Premier League is ridiculous to say it.
We just came out.
It's ridiculous to say it, but that's where we're at. And why the hell shouldn't we enjoy it? Why shouldn't we enjoy it?
There's two parts of this, though, that I absolutely think you should enjoy it, and I think a lot of neutral fans will enjoy it. I think there's mixed feelings across Wales, but generally, you should enjoy it. There's two bits of this where I think the history will be exciting on the first bit, and the reaction on the second bit. So first of all, to be able to go back to back to back to back and have that in the record books would be, that I don't see that it being beaten or being matched in any particular way. It won't be able to beat it, but to match that.
Wimbledon is the only one. Crazy Gang is the only one I can think that are anywhere close to doing
close to it.
level.
But they had gaps and stuff, or they had a couple of back-to-back. It's no, this would cement the club and what this journey's been like. But forgive me for being for once a glass half empty kind of guy on those moments. I know, is that I can't see that you would be able to sustain that second, a full, second season in the Premier if you did go up, not without absolutely splashing the cash again, which I just don't sense that's where it's going. Go on. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say I absolutely don't disagree with you. It's a very, very valid point and a concern that I agree with as a Wrexham fan. The only thing I would say is just kind of as a kind of response to that is bringing it back to what you said a minute ago with regards to their due diligence they did when they bought the club. I can't believe that with the kind of planning and people that they have involved now, I can't believe that they don't have a plan. There'll be something in place, because it's a real possibility it could happen this year. But even if it doesn't happen this year, it's absolutely something that they want to achieve. So I'm pretty sure they've got blueprints for how it will work. Yeah. I agree with you. It scares the shit out of me, because the kind of money, the step you're talking about, the money you're talking about, is absolutely off the charts.
And I think that would be my concern, is that it's at the risk of crippling debt or anything like that they attach to the club, or they're not prepared to take themselves. I'm not sure how much spare cash they've got. I know Ryan's supposed to be very, very wealthy. I'm not sure if Rob Mack has got the same spare cash to just go 20 million player, 30 million player, 60 million goalkeeper, whatever it is you need to be in the Prem with. But my other, not fear, it's going to happen, whatever happens, is that when you do go up and then you come back down, of course, the fans, the opposition fans are going to have an absolute field day on that day. But to be honest, for the 5 seasons that you've had, you would take that if it meant you went back down again and then consolidated yourself. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy that journey. I'm not saying you're not capable of doing it. I just can't imagine that level of funding, because you only have to look at the teams like Leeds, who have really, a quality sides with big club gate receipts every week, huge fan base, and yet they're only just staying up this year. They're not flying up the league. You've got big clubs like West Ham, who they should not be struggling at the bottom of the table. Forest should not. So the challenges of staying in the Premier League are massive, and so of course the expectation is you probably come back down again, and then you have another season of consolidation in the Championship or whatever. So I don't think there's a risk of you then escalating down and down and down and down. I just think this would be a journey, an exciting, merry-go-round of a journey, and then you come back and then you kind of level out a little bit, would be my prediction if you were to win the playoffs, because of course anything can happen in the playoffs. I think that's the only reason why I'm entertaining it as a possibility, is anything can happen in playoffs. You're not going up as automatic 1-2, so that's fair enough. But you could win a playoff on any given day. We've seen you in the cup, so I think it's really exciting for you to think it could happen. But I suppose, do you brace yourself then for week after week not winning or not? I don't know. I wouldn't want it to be a Burnley. I wouldn't want it to be.
Just why does excitement have to be brown and runny? That's all I'm saying.
It's that thing again. It's my analogy of the choice between being punched in the face and kicked in the nuts. You're right. It's the journey, isn't it, of getting there? The feeling of achieving it would be unbelievable. But do I want to be doing what Wolves are doing this season or what Ipswich did last season? Not really, no. But it's one of them, isn't it? The thing that the bit of intrigue for me in it is, given what they've done with the club so far, and again going back to what you were saying before about their personal wealth and what they've got to put in it, it's not their money anymore. They the money they put into it to buy it and then loan the club to start with, they've had all their money back. So I think their plan from that point on and for the future was always with external investment. But I think that the real sort of enigma for me is, if we could get to the promised land, then the challenge then is, how do you then become a Brentford or a Bournemouth, where you become an established Premier League team, rather than a Leeds or a Burnley where you're constantly up and down, up and down. I agree, on paper, if by some crazy miracle we did get up this season, everything says to you, no matter how much money they plough into it in the summer, everything says you'd be nailed on to come straight back down. But I suppose that's their challenge, I think, isn't it? Is getting to the Premier League, and then the next step then is, how do you then try and establish yourself before you then even go and have crazy conversations about how you try and get near the top of the Premier League, because that's another level of funding again, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Sunday was Cup final day, and we all went up to North Wales. Didn't we have a lovely time the day we went to Bangor?
Oh, hang on. Just hang on. Let's get these ready.
Oh, there we are. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, ready now. Yeah,
I've got troughs. Got troughs under my eyes for mine. So yes, it was the Adran Trophy final. Wrexham Women taking on Cardiff City Women at the Bangor City Stadium up on North Wales. Let's look at the lineup first, Daz. Now, we all said, we don't think Jenny would be risky enough to put two new signings. We probably thought Maria would play, but look at that. Both there were three changes from the cup win over Carmarthen. Obviously, Wrexham had a week off because of the Swansea postponement, but three changes. Nat Clark, Hannah Snape, and Maz Mahmood stepped aside. Lily Jones came in, and both the new signings of Sarah Harvey and Maria Francis Jones, who we'll talk about a bit later, both started. Brave, Daz, or calculated?
I mean, calculated in the sense that you're not buying players at the moment that don't fit this mold. You're not buying players that don't have the potential. And with all due respect to the team that ended the last season, anybody that she's bringing in now is going to be a step up. So I do think they were always going to enhance the team, but there were some players like Mahmood, and they have been great additions this season. And so for them to be dropped and make more room, it's just showing how much depth you've got in this squad now. And I'm still fascinated by how do you draw these players to sunny North Wales. It's just, I just find this all mind blowing because of the level and scale and the financial investment that this league merits, quantifies as a necessity, because No, the returns are just, I can't see where the returns. I'm fascinated by it. It's so exciting and amazing for our league, but I'm just amazed that you're getting these quality players wanting to play in our little old League of Wales.
I mean, Jamie, you know, Wrexham not averse to a cup final. This is their third cup final in 3 years, 2 Bute Energies and an Adran Trophy, and potentially some more cup finals to come. All of them, all the 3 against Cardiff. I mean, putting new players into a standard match to start together, you know, is pretty ballsy. But to put 2 in a cup final against our strongest rivals, both this season and for the previous couple of seasons, that's impressive by Jenny Sugarman, isn't it?
Well, that's why we talk bollocks on here, and she knows what she's doing. You know, that's like you just said. We thought it highly unlikely that she'd bring 2 new signings in for a debut in a final against Cardiff. But I think we probably also did say as well that you know she will have worked with them in training and will if she feels that it's the right thing to do, we'll do it. And clearly she thought it was the right thing to do. And you know, it's easy to say now, isn't it, because we won the game. But genuinely, with how they both performed, particularly Frances Jones, she was absolutely the decision to do that was absolutely spot on. You know, because they improved the team.
Well, I'm not giving away anything because I'm sure, unless you're living on planet Earth, you know what the result was. But fantastic atmosphere in the ground. 1,374 attended. 90% of those were Wrexham fans. It's the highest Adran League tie ever, so it's broken that record. And it's the highest attendance at Bangor City Stadium since 2019. So 7 years in that. So massively impressive from that point of view. Great atmosphere. I was nervous as hell leading up to it, to say the least. But the teams came out, started the game. Lots of people there, as I say. Phil Parkinson was there, which was great, Jamie, from the point of view that the men's manager was there. Humphrey Carr was there. Mike Williamson was there. Noel Mooney, Daz from the FAW was there. So yeah, lots of important people turning the spotlight on Welsh women's football. Before I just talk about the match, go into it. Generally, Daz, from a point of view of the play, ignoring what happened, and obviously the drama that is penalty shootout at the end, do you think this was a good advert for women's Welsh football?
Yeah, no, it was a good game. I missed the very beginning of it, but I caught up and watched the whole of the second half, and then obviously what happens afterwards. And no, I thought it was a really entertaining game. I thought there was some really good quality, particularly with some crunching tackles in midfield. I thought there was a lot of attempts on goal, keepers doing well as keepers getting pipped.
Steady.
No, but I don't. I mean, it wasn't. I'll still stand by the fact if you've got short goalkeepers, you just put it in the top corners and they will struggle to save it. That's nothing to do with how good a goalkeeper they are. That's just laws of physics. I just think that there was a couple of goals where you just think they're doing what we say. Just put it in the top bins and anyway. I thought it was a really entertaining game. I mean, the conditions it felt blustery, felt a bit challenging. You could see the flags going, and I don't know if it had been slick in terms of the amount of rain that had been there, but in terms of the quality of the pitch. It was a genuinely entertaining game. I thought it was a really good advert, and some good goals to boot as well.
And helped along by our friend Ebbs on English commentary on S4C.
I know. I just didn't know he was doing the English one. I just assumed, because I knew he was working, and so when I suppose Mike Parry was doing the Welsh one, I suppose, by default. But yeah, it was lovely to hear Ebbs doing an English commentary. I'm not sure how often he does it.
He was very good. He was very, because obviously I don't speak the mother tongue, so I had to find the English commentary, and he was very, very good. It was he's got a very hard to explain. There's a very unique sort of element to the way he commentates, which it's almost like I don't know. It's just always very memorable for some reason. It's hard to explain. But yeah,
he enjoys it. I mean, he's one of these guys that just enjoys life. I mean, he's just such a smiley, lovely guy, and anything that's even remotely, good humor, he laughs. But if he sees something and acknowledges it, he gives credit to everybody else. He's one of the most generous people. So if somebody makes an observation in the commentary, he absolutely, gives them their moments. He's a really, really generous commentator. So and he's got a good rapport as well with many of his co-commentators. So it was nice. It was just different. It was just nice to see.
And he's got big fans, with Rob Mack watching the S4X feed live and reacting to that, which was great to see. Fantastic start to the game. Very, very much end-to-end, as you would expect. Cardiff took the lead in just the 7 minutes, though, before either team had really, truly settled. Evans meeting Mackenzie Olden's corner, the near post to head in across goal. Although it may have been Michaela Wildgoose's own goal, depending on how you look at it. I felt it was. But I think officially... it was given to a Cardiff player. Wrexham responded well, however, and Faye Knox threaded a great pass through to Katie Barker on 9 minutes. Barker rounded Chamberlain in goal, but was forced wide in the process, and Harvey could not get on the pullback to turn it goalwards. Liz Craven saved with her legs in the 22nd minute, denying Lily Billingham. It was a great save at her near post after she won the ball high up in the pitch. Suckley's long-range strike brought Wrexham level, though, on 25 minutes. The referee stopped play with Billingham down, and from the resultant drop ball, Josie Smith turned her marker, fed the ball to Suckley, who lofted a beautiful shot, a little lob over the top of Chamberlain, in from 18 yards out, exactly what Daz had described, put it in that top bit. But Jamie, was it kind of Suckley putting it in the right place, or did you feel that Chamberlain almost palmed it back into her own goal?
No, you credit the technique. For me, it was. You're right. It was a great visual representation of what Daz talks about with the kind of the physics element to the goalkeeper. And I know we jest and we have a bit of fun with it, but it's not a criticism. It's just physics. And like we keep saying, if you're an attacking player playing in this league, it's something that if it were me, I'd be doing it as much as I could. And I think it's not the first time Ava Suckley's done that. She's very good at capitalizing on that little weakness, and she did it absolutely perfectly. I would not put it down to luck. I'd put it down to precision and skill. It was a great finish.
She looks up, she sees it, she plays. It's play for and goal, absolutely.
Well, Jones then went close on the half hour, letting the ball drop on the edge of the box and firing it just wide on the half volley. Knox got in behind a minute later from Smith's through ball, taking a great touch and shooting across the goal, but Chamberlain parried it clear. Michaela Wildgoose peeled off her marker to meet Knox's corner in the 41st minute, but her header was well blocked. Cardiff regained the lead, however, on the stroke of half-time. Olden's long-range free kick after Jones's foul clattering off the bar and falling kindly for Cook to score on the rebound. I mean, Daz got to pick up the second ball on that. I found that really poor by the Wrexham defence. Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of ball watching. I think they think it's either going in or going over, but the reaction from the Cardiff players are just far more alert to the moment. And that's a crucial time of the game as well. You just think it's cagey, it's balanced, and I would say against the run of play, from what I could see, the majority of the attempts on goal and possession at this stage is probably switched to Wrexham's favour, and then for them to concede in that way. I mean, it's a speculative shot in the first place, but it hits the crossbar, and the goalkeeper Craven's gone for it, but she's taken herself out of the game because she's landed, and of course there's half a goal wide open. And so where is the defence? They've got to be alert to that danger. And as much as there's two of them in that area, I think trying to close it down, there's half a goal empty, and it's the easiest smacked at the back of the goal that you know,
Cookie's lethal. Cookie's lethal. We've seen it with her all season. You know, she scores goals of fun. So
absolutely,
really, really poor by the Wrexham defence there. So Wrexham 2-1 down at the break, but coming up for the second half, they had the wind in their favour, as Daz and Jamie both said. The wind was very, very strong coming from we were looking at it in the stand from left to right. Wrexham had that win then in their favour in the second half. 5 minutes after restart, an expansive counter-attack ended with Francis Jones squaring for Smith, who curled the shot but was headed behind by Evans. There was a long delay then around the hour mark where assistant referee Laura Roberts suffered an injury and the fourth official Erin Brennan had to take over. Mahmood replaced Lily Jones on the 68th minute for Wrexham. Jamie, Lily Jones her knee was strapped up massively heavily. Ironically, I'd seen her in a boot at the day before at the Wrexham men's game, so I didn't think she was going to play. I mean, the fact that she even did 68 minutes, that's massively impressive.
I think you would have probably had to chop her leg off for her to not played in that game. I think, you know, we spoke about it last week, didn't we? You know, you get how much it means to her. You know, we've all seen the story and her story in the documentary, but we know she is a local girl. She lives and breathes the club. She supports the club. It is, you know, she wears the badge with the utmost pride, and it means the absolute world to her every time she plays. So I think, unless she literally physically couldn't have played, I think it would have taken a battering ram to stop her. And clearly she was in a lot of discomfort and was carrying something. But like you say, to get 65, 68 minutes out of her, she did a sterling job.
Well, Cardiff introduced two danger players at that point as well, Kelly Walker and Fiona Barry from the bench. So Wrexham were on high alert. Harvey raced inside on 71 minutes to receive a square pass and shoot right-footed, but Chamberlain parried and gathered up the second attempt. But then finally, Wrexham got the reward that they had worked hard for in the second half. And for me, outplayed Cardiff in the second half. 80th minute, Francis Jones exchanging passes with Suckley. Suckley takes it in the box, pushes it out to the edge. In comes Francis Jones, pushes off her cover, hits a left foot shot. Absolute beautiful. Top far corner, right in the top. No keeper's getting that. I mean, Daz, what an incredible goal on her wrong foot, on her debut.
I know it's absolute Roy the Rover stuff, isn't it? You know, she's on the wing though. She's on, she's absolutely, hugging the touchline in that sense, making it difficult. And when she plays it to Suckley, it's the fact that she follows it up, the fact that she checks inside, drives forward, makes yardage on the left back, who's supposed to be marking her, and she's just wide open. And it just means she's got all the time. And there's a couple of players that allows her to sort of sight it, as you do if you want to try and curl it and fade it around the corner. But it's so in the top corner. No, like you said, no keeper's stopping that. I mean, I do think Chamberlain's thinking that's gone wide. I do think Chamberlain's kind of lost her bearings of where she is in the goal, because she's sort of not scrambling, but she's just following it round. Or she clearly knows it's going in, has conceded it from the moment it's hit her boot and it's left her boot, and she's gone, yeah, I'm not getting that. So if that goes in, well done. And she's just followed it around. It's just this hopeless. You just see her body language has given up on that one. But yeah, it was a quality finish. Absolutely what the team deserved at that stage of the game. The reaction, the stadium, the players, the timing of it within the game, and for that to be your first game. I mean, you've got to just remind her that not every Wrexham game is going to be like that.
No, I was going to say that's a high bar.
It is such a high bar,
isn't it? From that point of view. I mean, great for the neutral. Not good for me, I have to be honest, but fantastic.
Only one way to describe that goal: technique.
Technique, yeah, that's exactly what Andy Marriott would say.
Andy Morrell, you tit.
Sorry, yes, Andy Marriott.
Andy Marriott.
Well, he's the goalkeeper, so you might say that as well. Who knows? So 10 minutes to go. Two two very tired teams, but were absolutely starting to turn into a basketball game where it was going end to end to end. Mahmood fired over the bar when a low corner was not fully cleared in the 83rd minute. Bartle headed wide from Francis Jones's corner 5 minutes after that. Wrexham forced a series of corners late in the game, but neither team could find a winner as the match went to a penalty shootout. Jamie? So we'd had 96 plus minutes with the stoppages and everything else. Went to penalty shootout. What were you feeling at that point? Were you feeling Wrexham have got this? Because we did have the upper hand, certainly for the second half. Or did you think, penalties? No, it's a lottery, and this is going to go wrong?
Initially, I was furious because Jody Bartle missed that header in the dying minutes that would have made it 3-2. Which would have meant I'd have got a bullseye, so I'd have been. I was a little bit cross about that, but no. Look, as soon as the penalties came, look, I think I'd be lying if I said that I was confident, because I don't think you can ever be confident going into as a fan. I don't think you can be confident going into a penalty shootout because it is such a lottery, isn't it? The only one thing that I did think was the amount of people we had in the stadium versus Cardiff. Like you say, the way we played in that second half. You're absolutely right. We were by far the better team. It did feel a little bit like we had a bit of momentum, but I wouldn't say that bled into me feeling confident for the shootout, because, like I say, it's such a bloody lottery. And I'll be honest, when I forget who took our first penalty, but when they stepped up and
Casey Barker.
In fact, that was it. So when she took that first penalty, which was a poor penalty to be fair, and she missed, I have to be honest, I thought, oh shit, here we go. But yeah.
Well, as I say, the lottery of penalties, paramedics on standby for me, to say the least. The penalties were decided and they were off to the right where I was. It was hilarious watching when they decided where it was going to be. Ian Derbyshire was saying to the 6 Cardiff fans who were at the other end, it's over there. None of them ran. They all stayed where they were. But everybody from the stands, Wrexham fans, cleared the stands and all went and stood behind that goal. So they knew exactly what they needed to do, because they were properly thought, if we're gonna be the 12th player here, we're gonna do everything we can to put them off. But you're absolutely right. Penalty shootout. Chamberlain save from Barker. Which I was surprised about, because Barker actually, the penalties in the past, particularly the ones against Aberystwyth, was fantastic. But then up steps Lizzie Craven, responded by saving Fionn Price's effort. So both penalties get missed.
That was huge. I think, sorry to interrupt you there. I think she's a dead ball specialist and rarely misses in those situations. And that was the moment I thought, maybe.
Well, Mahmood then fired high into the top corner. I mean, Jamie, what a penalty that was.
That was the highlight for me, that penalty. I think our first and Cardiff's first 2 were poor. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the goalkeepers for saving them, because they've still got to guess the right way and they've still got to get there, but they were poor penalties. But Maz Mahmood's was absolute peach. I mean, no pun intended. You've got the balls you've got to have to lift the ball off the ground from the penalty spot is immense, because not many players will do that. Whenever I used to take penalties, my aim was always trying to hit it on the floor as close to the post as possible. I never had the nuts to lift it off the ground. But it's very, very rare you'll see a penalty save if you can put it in the top bins, and that penalty was absolutely superb. And probably, to be fair, when that went in, that's probably when I did start to think it might be our day.
Well, then Craven obviously then became total hero as she saved from Oldham to give Wrexham the advantage. I mean, Daz, Cardiff missing the first 2 penalties. That's incredibly rare for a team who are as prolific as Cardiff.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Price, that was surprising, because that's not her normal. She's way better than that normally. Oldham was awful, though. It was just so lackluster. I mean, just to describe, if anybody hasn't seen it, it's one of those where, you know how you see a goalkeeper sort of they send the goalkeeper the wrong way, and it's just a tame shot to the other side, but because they've given them the eyes, because it's gone the wrong way, you don't have to put it sort of in the far corner. You don't have to do it with pace. This was that kind of shot, but missed the bit where you fooled the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper had already gone the right way, and it's just passed it to Craven's hands. It was just the lamest, weakest, and I don't know if energy, exhaustion, whatever, but the occasion, but it was just a badly struck shot and nowhere near the posts. I mean, it was just so savable. It was awful.
Well, Wrexham's Josie Smith found the bottom corner for Wrexham's penalty. Hannah Power then replied, so Cardiff actually managed to score a penalty. Frances Jones then, on her debut, not just content with scoring an incredible goal, steps up in the penalty shootout and puts the ball away, as well as Fiona Barry for Cardiff. I mean, Jamie, you've scored the equaliser to get us into penalties, and then you step up and you score a penalty. And it's that kind of zone for me, the kind of third, fourth penalty taker for me is always the most dangerous, because it's the kind of one where you're thinking, that if you slip up there, there's little chance of you getting back in because you're up to your 5 penalties.
Yeah, I think you've got to give respect to anyone that steps up and takes a penalty in a shootout. Obviously, I don't necessarily know how Wrexham went about picking the takers, whether it was just a case of who's prepared to take one or whether the manager kind of pointed them in that direction. But, I think anyone that steps up in that initial 5 has to be shown a bit of respect. But yeah, you're right. That the latter ones there's a bit of jeopardy on them, isn't there? So look, she's obviously a very confident lady, and I guess her confidence was flying after scoring that goal as well. But it was a good penalty.
So Wrexham were 3-2 up. It was set up for Knox to coolly slot in the winning spot kick and ensure that Wrexham get the first Adran Trophy title, their first main silverware ever, or certainly since the reset up of the team, and also to beat Cardiff in the first final in 3 years, which is so sweet. Massive outpouring of joy, delight. Some got upset. Don't know who that was.
I tell you what, I'm glad we're not the Sopranos, because the other Italian mafia families would be pissing themselves laughing at us with the amount of tears you shed. Honestly.
Yeah, it's all right. I can't help it, all right? I'm just the kind of guy I am. But, Wrexham do get that win. Brilliant. Just brilliant. All the players celebrated with all the fans. They stayed around for ages afterwards, signing loads of autographs for the kids. Faye Knox came up to the grandstand, as you can see there in the bottom left-hand corner. She actually came into the grandstand to basically high-five us all and say thanks for singing her song.
She was probably trying to slap you and tell you to stop crying.
I spoke to Jenny Sugarman and congratulated her. She was over the moon. She slept with the trophy that night, apparently, according to Mark Swales. We spoke to Mark Swales as well, the director of women's football. He came up and thanked us all for our vocal support and everything. But it was everybody, all Wrexham fans. We were all ultras that day. Just a brilliant, brilliant day with a perfect ending. And a reward, really, for all the hard work that the women have put in. Daz, let's put this into context, shall we? So Jenny Sugarman comes in, and 9 months later, she spearheads Wrexham's first silverware. Yes, she brings in some key players, but she also uses a lot of the players that we've seen the last few seasons. They beat Cardiff for the first time in a final, as I say, and for the first time this year. How big is this on the scale of the Adran leagues and what's to come? How big is this?
Yeah, I mean, I think let's put into context the opponent. Treble winners last year, double the year before, treble the year before that. So in the last 3 seasons, they've only really been beaten once in one tournament out of 9. One tournament out of 9. And that was a surprise defeat to somebody like TNS or something in probably this trophy 2 years ago. I can't remember which one it was, but that's it. And for the last 3 years, Cardiff have been this dominant force, and it's been a fascinating journey of seeing Wrexham try and compete with them. So matching them in the league this year, that's been such a refreshing, and Swansea are not a million miles away, but it's great for the league that there's actually some competition and there aren't any runaway leaders, because that's the problem with the men's game. The TNS team I think they're literally one game away from winning the league already. They're like 15, 18 points ahead. It's obscene. So it's something to be said about a competitive league, which can only help the game in Wales. You've got 3 teams, 2 particularly at each other. And I think that's what made this even sweeter in terms of its significance, is that you were able to win the final against that particular team. Not to have faced Cardiff in the final might have made this a little bit less of a sweeter victory. People going, but somebody else did the hard work of beating. No, you beat them. You beat them, and you beat them well. I think.
I was going to say we deserved this win. We played. I felt we played better on the day.
Yeah, and I think that's also something that you don't really want hanging around at your neck about the fact, like, you didn't deserve to win it, but you've got the trophy. No. On the day, the better team, and during the season have matched them. So it's great for the league. It's great for the game in Wales. And to answer your question in terms of what Sugarman's done, yes, she's a great coach. Clearly, she's getting a lot out of the players. I would say that they started the rebuild these last sort of couple of windows in terms of buying some really good players. So there's a good chunk of that team that's now fresh, new, who have played at a higher level, who know what it means to compete and perform. And so when you've got the combination of the tools, the arsenal to be able to play the game you want to play, and also have some tactical nous, some strategy. Wrexham have looked difficult to beat. They've had their moments in defences over the last few seasons where that's all we've been able to pick. We've picked them apart on the fact that their defences are weak, but there seems to be a solidity in the team. The game is free flowing. I'm loving the midfield tenacity, but there's also some real class and some flair, and the difference, rather than just relying on a Rosie Hughes, which may have done for years and years, you've got goals across the team. Barker's obviously an amazing finisher, and will continue to be your focal point, and will get you easily will easily get the golden boot. But if there's nobody competing in that level, but the Suckleys contributing as well, and I just think there's plenty of players in this squad who can contribute goals, which means if there are injuries, if there are suspensions, if there are moments where players are underachieving, you can turn to somebody else and they'll make a difference too. No, this is great. I mean, I think in terms of the revitalization of this team, it's important that after all this effort, that there's some reward. Can it be sustained for all three tournaments? Maybe. I mean, we're going to find out pretty soon about where the cup's going to go. So that's a shame that can't be another cup final. But again, you've got to beat them on the way there to do it. And then league, you're in as good a position as you could possibly be at this stage. So fingers crossed. But I do want to sort of acknowledge that what Ian Derbyshire's done for Cardiff Women over the years, huge, and the fact that he's already announced at the beginning, that this was going to be his last season. He's got pastures green to go to. What he's achieved with that squad has set the standard, and like I said, having only missed out on one trophy in 9 is a phenomenal result. Absolutely dominated the leagues. So he clearly has raised the game, and Cardiff are now going to have to start doing that big search that Wrexham have recently done, which is find out who that heir to the throne will be, because they've got a good squad. They're going to still compete this year and next if they keep hold of their players. So it'll be interesting to see who they get in.
You could see though at the end that this was something they were not used to.
Yeah.
They were not used to this at all. They did not like it at all.
Yeah.
Because they're winners. They are a squad of winners. That's what they're used to. They're used to basically turning up, putting the opposition to the sword, and walking away with the trophy.
Yeah.
They did not like. They did.
This is going to be the beginning of a really good rivalry. I think for a long time now. I think this it's a healthy rivalry. I hope. I don't think it gets.
As long as we win, yeah, it's going to be fine. Jamie, difficult to pick a player of the day for me. For you, I mean, 1 to 11, you can pretty much say, Lizzie Craven with the 2 saves in the penalty shootout, Lily Jones playing with what looked like a completely busted knee, Frances Jones scoring that goal on her debut, even Sarah Harvey, who just fitted herself into the back line beautifully and did some incredible work. Can you pick a player of the match for you?
No.
Okay.
Because to me, I think it would be, I mean, maybe disrespectful is not the right word, but I think given the significance of the victory and what it's meant, as in like the history, the entry into the history books, I don't think it's right to pick a player out. I think they all played their part, and to be fair, genuinely, even if you forced me to try and pick somebody, I would struggle to pick one that stood out head and shoulders above the rest. The names you mentioned are all notable mentions, but I think I don't think it's worth or suggesting one player. I think they all.
I mean, I've not even talked about Jodie Bartle's captain's display, which was stunning all the way through. Faye Knox running midfield, just doing you know what I mean.
I mean, Faye Knox was brilliant again. I mean, I think to be fair, I've called her. I've mentioned her a couple of times when we've been talking about games in recent weeks, because I think she's been really, really good this season. Maybe gone a little bit under the radar because of Katie Barker and Ava Suckley and things like that, and the fact Rosie Hughes, because this goal scorers always tend to get the headlines, don't they? But I think Knox has been superb this season. I agree. But you crafty fuck, you're not going to get me to give you a name, so I'm going to say all of them.
That's fine. Well, in that case, then I'm going to say Michaela Wildgoose and Phoebe Davis at the back did incredibly well as well, which was absolutely brilliant. Katie Barker was quietened, but she made she made she was a trouble. She was trouble because the Cardiff defence is superb. Watching it live, I'm always impressed by how tight they are and how fantastic they do with regards to screening and things. She caused them big trouble, big problems. I think was just unlucky on the day that she couldn't get anything. But what an incredible display by the entire squad, totally deserved. Championes, ole ole ole, and I loved beating Cardiff. I'm not gonna be the better person. I absolutely love it when we can get one on Cardiff. And well done to the whole team. Fantastic work. So after the men did so well on Saturday, it was Tuesday, and we were hosting Portsmouth back at the Stoke Kairos. Jamie, let's look at the lineup. 2 changes from the Ipswich win. Out go the injured chief, of course, and more, and in comes Dobson and Smith. As you said earlier, Dobson really isn't a chief replacement, but that's all we've got, really, now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the obvious one. He came in, I think, him and O'Brien in that sort of holding midfield roles. They did a good job. It's the obvious choice. As much as I said before, he's not necessarily a like for like for Chief and Matty James. He's the closest thing I think we've got. So if he's fit, he's going to play.
Well, both sides had chances in the early stages, but Wrexham definitely had the lion's share of the first half. Wrexham went ahead 23rd minute. Smith rose to nod a Callum Doyle curling cross back across the goal into net. Beautiful header. Pompey enjoyed some decent spells of possession, but struggled to carry a threat. Schmid tipped Smith's thumping strike over. Wrexham doubled the lead from the resulting corner on that. George Dobson's delivery was nodded into the net by Max Cleworth 6 minutes from half-time. The second half then, Portsmouth much improved. They pulled the goal back again just 4 minutes into the second half. Swanson played a stick 1-2 with Regan Poole. They almost walked through the defence for me. So a subsequent shot kind of bounced. It was struck Doyle, so it was a deflection, looped over the helpless Arthur Okonkwo. And then Portsmouth then tried to put massive pressure on us. Huge amount of corners. really, really kind of laid one on. But Wrexham's defence held firm. And Wrexham managed the final stages in a very professional manner to hold on for back-to-back wins, 6 points in 6, strengthened our grip on the top 6. And Wrexham do finish the week 6th in the table. Played 34, won 14, drawn 12, lost only 8. That's very comparable with a lot of the clubs. I think only a couple of clubs have lost less than we have. 54 points, 4 points from 7th place. Jamie, generally, usual story for us. Great first half, fairly poor second half. Gave away a goal right after the break, and then hung on for grim death. I thought we were going to do another Bristol City and let it go, but we managed to hang on and got the win.
Yeah, I mean, to coin the bullshit phrase, it was a proper game of two halves. First half we were very good. I think at times we arguably played some of our best stuff that we've probably seen all season. Some of the little passages of play, passing and moving were exceptional. We were so on top in that first half. It was ridiculous. Portsmouth offered very little, and I think looking at the way Parky set us up tactically, which was to not press and let them have the ball, he clearly didn't have a lot of confidence that they could break us down and create chances. And in that first half was proved right. Our goal, Sam Smith's goal, first goal was a great header. To be fair, it was a brilliant ball in by Callum Doyle, unlike maybe we've not been as used to seeing Sam Smith winning headers, but yeah, he rose perfectly and nodded it in without having to get too much power on it. And the second was a textbook corner, and a great header from Max. But yeah, at half time, even though you've got that little niggle in the back of your mind about what we're gonna come out in the second half, Portsmouth had just shown next to nothing in that first half, and I didn't honestly think it was going to end up being what it was. You're absolutely right. Second half, same story. We came out cold again, conceded a goal earlier on. Granted, there was a huge slice of luck with a deflection, but it's still they've scored, and then we just couldn't get going after that. Now, to be fair, I don't know if you've heard it, but Parky in his post-match interview did mention that there was some illness in the team. Sam Smith and Kiefer Moore in particular, he said Sam Smith was ill at half time. So whether it was maybe some illness, a bit of fatigue, because a lot of those players had played, put in a huge shift against Ipswich. We just couldn't get going. But as the half went on, Portsmouth were just getting more and more into it. And I agree with you 100%. I have to be honest, the pessimist in me was feeling a little bit like we're gonna concede an equaliser here, and we're gonna drop 2 more points. Like you say, that splurge of corners they had. I mean, Christ, they had more corners than Silverstone. It must have had about 8 or 9 in a row. It was ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. But we defended them pretty well. There wasn't any of them really that were like, head in hands, worried that they were going to score. Look, they were much the better team in the second half. I don't think they didn't do enough to win the game. You could argue that a draw probably would have been a fair result, but I think you've got to give a huge amount of credit to Wrexham and the Wrexham players, because it wasn't in the second half in particular, it wasn't a pretty performance, but they did enough. They did enough, and that's something we've not done in a few games this season. We've not done that.
I mean, I was going to say, looking at those stats there, I mean, the fact that Portsmouth had 60% possession, but the fact that they didn't ask a save of Arthur is very telling of where they're at as a team. I don't know what you're on about, why you don't like the XG. Look at that, 0.54, clearly one better than 0.53. So you won by 1 goal.
What a load of crap!
Isn't that how it works? 1 point more means...
They're just making it up. They're just giving statisticians work. What a load of rubbish!
I like giving statos work because they, it's a good thing to have. It's good.
I think it's one of those games that's going to go under the radar a little bit. Maybe at the end of the season, it's one of those that we'll look back on, potentially look back on and say, do you know what? That actually turned out to be a really crucial win. Likewise, there are games that we've talked about already this season, Leicester, Bristol, where we might look back at them and say those have cost us. Who knows? The only one thing I did just want to say about this as well was just to mention the Portsmouth fans, because they were bloody brilliant. They were incredible. I've obviously heard about Portsmouth fans being a good bunch, but they were very, very, to travel that distance. They've sold out to travel that distance on a Tuesday night, and they were really behind their team all the way through. At the end of the game, unlike Ipswich, you'll know this from being there on Saturday. A lot of those Ipswich fans booed their players off at the end of the game, which was incredible. Even though Portsmouth had lost, they were brilliant, and it was a really genuine old school fan base who were right behind their team. So fair play, they added to a good atmosphere.
So we talked about it earlier. As I say, Wrexham are now in sixth and comfortably. We're now 4 points off seventh. So Jamie, 6 points out of 6. I was hoping for 3 points out of these two games, me personally, to get 6 out of 6. And there's been a number of teams that we've taken on, as I said earlier. Can we sustain this? Can we fend off Derby County? I mean, Southampton are coming up on the rails. Birmingham had a big loss last night against Millwall, which I think if they'd have won that, they'd have been breathing down our necks. It's hugely tight when you look at the table at the moment between sort of 15th right up to 6th. Can we hang on? Or actually, is hang on the wrong word? Actually, are we underselling ourselves? We are now a threat. We, as Daz said, we're in the top 6. We've earned that. We're a threat. So, are we going to impose this?
I'm not underselling ourselves. I predicted 2 Wrexham wins in these 2 games. So thank you very much. Look, we've got as good a chance as any of the teams that are in the mix. As I keep saying every week, there is a huge opportunity. This is why I keep saying, as much as we can debate till the cows come home about whether we're ready to go up and do we want to go up and all that jazz, there is such a huge opportunity this season because of the way the league is played out. And what I would say is that we're probably now in the mix of maybe 8 teams that I think are going to, 3 of 8, I think, are going to finish in those last 3 playoff spots. And we've got as good a chance as anybody. At the moment, the bottom line is the ball is in our court. It's ours to lose at the minute because the teams that are around us that can impact us, we've got to play a couple of them still. So it's totally in our hands. I think we've got to have some confidence. We're in good form. I mean, I know the stats been doing the round on social media that no team in any of the top 4 leagues has got more points since Christmas than Wrexham. So we've got to try and be confident, but without being cocky, which I don't think I don't think that's a word that I would level at Parky or his players ever, to be fair. But there's a fine line, I think, between using the confidence, using the confidence in your favour and being tripped up by it. Who knows? Whatever happens from this point on, it's been an unbelievable season, hasn't it? And
crazy.
Would you in those 8 teams? Would you include the mighty now Swansea with their Snoop Dogg effect?
No.
Jesus Christ! What was that all about?
The Morris dance.
Well,
the Morris dancers, you mean?
The good thing is you could buy one of those towels on eBay the day after for about 200 quid. So
what really made me laugh. I don't particularly like the man, but it did make me chuckle. Was Paul Higginbottom's press conference the day after, where a reporter said to him, "Was there much difference?" And he said, "Well, there was a strong smell of weed in the tunnel," which made me chuckle. But other than that, no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would include Swansea. I think that the 8 teams I'm probably talking about: Millwall, Ipswich, Hull, us, Southampton, Bristol. How many is that? 6, maybe 9. Preston, Birmingham, Derby. I reckon at the minute Derby are in 11th, and probably that for me is where I probably see the cut off as being those teams. I think it'll be 3 of those.
It just shows, doesn't it, how quickly this changes. I mean, Derby last week were breathing down our necks. They lose 2 games and they're 6 points adrift suddenly. So it just shows, and that absolutely could happen to us, couldn't it? We could have a run where we could have a couple of games which don't go our way, and then hey presto, we're back in 11th.
I mean, you look at our next 2 league games; it's 2 very difficult games. As much as we've just had 2 phenomenal results and 2 wins,
it's as possible that you could lose the next two, and that completely changes it. But
I think the fact that you won 2 in the same week, that is a big sort of marker, I think, as well.
Mm.
Now, Neat Much podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, Wrexham Academy played in round 5 of the FA Youth Cup versus current holders of the cup, Aston Villa, and lost 1-0, which means they are now out of this competition. But they are the first Wrexham youth side to reach this round of the cup ever. So, fantastic achievement for them to even get that far. They have been drawn against Brentford under-17s at home in the semi-finals of the under-17s Professional Development Shield, and that game will be played on 3rd of March. Daz, only 1-0 against a team like Aston Villa, away from home, that's not to be sniffed at, is it?
No. I mean, you always want to be able to hold your head up and say that you perform to the best ability, but when you're against some really quality teams, ultimately, they are going to, their class will usually show through. But that's a tight score, that's a tight result. Could have easily swung the other way. So I think pedigree, as whether former winners of the tournament and stuff like that, it's a really good marker of where the club's come along. And when you think about what the academy was like only a matter of years ago, this is leagues away. So it's really, really positive stuff. And bright future. And see, so hopefully some more of these players come through into the first team.
Well, it's double portions this week for everybody to celebrate. It's time to open the chip shop. Daz and Jamie are ready to dish the fish, hurry the curry, and serve the saveloy. Let's look at this week's predictions. I know one of us is very, very happy. Wrexham versus Ipswich Town. Only Jamie predicted that Wrexham would win. Daz went for the draw. I went for the Ipswich win. So obviously Jamie gets a point from that. Nobody picked the draw, unfortunately, so nobody gets any points, ironically, even though Wrexham won from that one, which is a bit of a shame, because Jamie thought Wrexham were going to win in 90 minutes, as I did, and Daz thought Cardiff were going to win in 90 minutes. And then Wrexham versus Portsmouth, somebody got a bullseye. Yes, it was me. 2-1. I picked it right. Jamie and Daz get the win. So Jamie from 71 games has got 47 points. Daz from 71 games has got 38 points. And me with that bullseye now brings me to just 1 point behind Daz with the same number of bullseyes. It's basically just because Daz has predicted one game more. It's still all to play for.
I'm sorry, but I've got to say it. That is bullshit. The fact that they didn't get anything for Wrexham Women winning is ridiculous.
Did you predict a draw?
But they won, didn't they? They won the game.
It doesn't matter. If it was a football match, you predict one team wins, the other team wins, or a draw. That's what you should have done. You should have said it's a draw, and you'd have got a point. And then if you'd have predicted Wrexham to win from the draw, then you got 2 points. Would I have got
a point if I predicted you crying like a girl?
No, you wouldn't. Definitely not. Anyway, first into the fryer tonight. It's Charlton Athletic. So Saturday, 28th of February, at the Valley, 3 p.m. GMT. The ringmaster himself is in charge as Wrexham visit Charlton Athletic. Last week played them in November. Wrexham came away with a 1-0 win, a penalty by Josh Windass. Charlton were in the top half then, but have slowly slipped down the table and now in 18th. 10 wins, 11 draws, 13 losses, goal difference of -10 and 41 points. 13 points behind Wrexham, 7 points off the relegation zone. The last 5 results: 0-0 draw at home to Queen's Park Rangers, a 1-0 win at home to Stoke City, a 3-1 loss at home to Portsmouth, a 1-1 draw away at Southampton, and a 1-1 draw away at West Brom. And the chips are done. So, Jamie, Charlton Athletic, for me, it just has a massive banana skin sign all over it because we're taking on Ipswich Town and we're beating them 5-3. You just know we're going to go to Charlton. They're going to beat us by some bullshit way and they're going to rub our noses in it. Surely that's what's going to happen.
The circus comments last
last year, I've added a bit of an underlying element to this fixture now, haven't they? And probably will do for the foreseeable. I think I agree with you. I agree with you to a point. I think if you look at the games, the 2 games last season and then the game this season, obviously we drew 2-2 there last season. They scored in the last minute because of really poor game management on our part. We obviously beat them 3-0 at home to secure promotion to the Championship. And then this season we beat them 1-0 at home. So there's a part of me that does say that they're due. They're probably due a win. And like you say, they'd be unbearable, wouldn't they? They'd just be absolutely unbearable. But that being said, again, I find it at the moment. I find it hard to not back Wrexham because we're in decent form. Our away form is pretty good. They've had some questionable home performances and results. I mean, they lost 3-1 last week to Portsmouth, which where Portsmouth got 3 goals from is beyond me. So it's tricky. It's really tricky because I agree. It on one hand, it feels like it's got banana skin written all over it. But I also, would like us to go there with some confidence because we've got to be confident at this point of the season where we're at in the league. We're where we're at in the league for a reason. So,
as Jamie just said, there've been some, our away form is very, very good, but Charlton's results are very odd. They will, like I say, losing to Portsmouth was one for me, but then managing to get that against Stoke. I mean, this is a difficult one to call for me. This one.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, they again, they're one of these teams where you think they've got pedigree and heritage, but they haven't really been performing consistently. I think you've got to love a little bit of sprinkle of characters getting involved and making this more than it is, because I do think in any other day this is probably if your chance is 18th and you're 6th, you're thinking it's going to be a Wrexham win, but it's just got that little sprinkle of something extra just because of the niggle and the history between the yourselves and the manager. So I don't know. I don't think they merit any. Their form doesn't suggest that they're going to be completely a walkover, because as much as they're 18th, they have got a few draws and a win under their bag, and in the bag of the last few games. So they can perform, but you've got to believe that off the back of the performances that you've shown recently, you've got a confident team there who know that they can beat or match at least most teams in this league. So I suppose the only thing that goes against you, or the swing, how much you pay attention to, is the home advantage for the Addicts, really, because obviously at the racecourse, very different proposition. But yeah, I think it'll be close. I think they'll give you a run for your money, but I would be confident of a Wrexham away win this week.
So time for this hot vinegar and sauce core. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Charlton Athletic versus Wrexham?
I agree with that. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think there's only going to be a goal in it. I like I say, I find it hard to back against Wrexham at the moment, particularly against Charlton and their form and everything else. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Wrexham win.
Daz, what's your score prediction for Charlton Athletic versus Wrexham?
That's what I've written down. Because by default, my instinct is like to go for something different now, because just to try and close the gap on the off chance. But I'm just going to assume Wrexham are going to concede a goal in the first 5 minutes after the second half. So it has to be 2-1. Surely it has to be 2-1. It can't be 2-0. Can it? Let's go to. I mean, he's going to win it otherwise. If I don't make moves, and if he gets, I'm going to go 2-0. But just note it. If it is a 2-1, I was right. I'm just going to say.
And I'm predicting Charlton Athletic 1, Wrexham 1. I've got a nasty feeling about this. I've got a really nasty feeling. Nathan Jones will want nothing more than to upset our Sharabang. And particularly, he will absolutely love it. We'll love it if we beat them. We'll love it. And I get the feeling he's going to. So I'm going to predict a draw, unfortunately. I'm hoping that means that Wrexham will definitely win, but we'll just go with a 1-1 on that one. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And next is the Friday tonight. It's another dish we're very, very familiar with. In fact, I'm pretty sick of it. It's Cardiff City Women. So back to league action. Back to Cardiff City Women for Wrexham Women. This obviously is the league meeting at the Cardiff City Stadium. So again, the problem I have with this one, it's exactly the same time as the men. Saturday, 28th of February at the Cardiff City Stadium, 3 p.m. GMT kickoff. Really poor, I think, and I'll talk about that in a second. Cardiff and Swansea, obviously, Cardiff and Wrexham, obviously, have had 3 meetings this season, with 1 draw for Wrexham, 1 loss for Wrexham, and of course that win, although it was the cup match last weekend. Cardiff, 4 points in the lead at the top of the table, but Wrexham do have the game in hand. And the chips are done. I'll talk about the scheduling of the match in a minute. Daz, how hard is it going to be now for Wrexham Women to control the outpouring of joy that we saw on Sunday and bring them back down to earth to understand they've still got a lot of work to do? They're going to be going to the Cardiff City Stadium. They're going to be going to, so it's a huge stadium. They're going to be going where there's not going to be a huge lot of Wrexham fans, because of the fact is that Wrexham men are playing at the same time. Cardiff men are playing, yes, they're playing away, but because it's in Cardiff, you would imagine the Cardiff women will have a decent amount of support. How easy is it going to be for Wrexham women to sort of concentrate and understand that they've got another 90 minutes ahead of them, and it's very, very important.
Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about grounding them, because I think the hangovers on Monday morning would have done that. So I think that's out of the system. I think they would have been given a decent rest day, and then they would be training. And I think there's enough experience and discipline in the team for them to at least get their heads back in the game and be ready for Sunday.
Saturday. It is on Saturday.
Oh, it is Saturday, of course, because the reschedule. Sorry, yeah. But I would say that in terms of all those factors that you said, they're the reasons why Cardiff are probably, you would imagine that Cardiff are the favourites. Playing that ground is something that they do a little bit more often. They don't, it's not a given that they play there every time, in the same way as Wrexham don't, use the Kairas. And so there's a bit more familiarity from the Cardiff City players of playing that kind of stadium. They don't play to big crowds. It must be weird watching a game in a 30,000 seat stadium, and your numbers are,
a few hundred probably,
few hundreds into nearly 1,000 on a good day. I think generally is what, cup games and big tournament games, they have hit higher numbers. I wonder whether or not this could have brought the numbers had it not been on a Saturday. I don't know. I'm sure you'll talk about that in a moment. I think the whole home advantage, I think familiar with that stadium. I do think Cardiff are a quality side and are good enough to put the defeat behind them and get over that, because they lost the first game of the season in the league, TNS again. And since then they've just bounced back, and then they pretty much thumped everybody. So I think in their one moment of lapse of concentration, they sorted it out. I think a cup defeat is one of those occasions that will help focus the minds, and they're not going to let you get the treble. That will be their mentality. If there's one thing we've seen from the consistency and the quality of this team and Ian Davidshire's players, I do think that they will be out for blood and they will be fierce. I do think they'll be fierce. Now, whether or not that's reckless, whether or not that will give a niggle to it, whether or not there'll be cards, whether or not there'll be free kicks in dangerous positions on the edge of the box. I mean, both teams have got, quality finishers. And I think this could be an entertaining game. I'm not sure it's going to be Well, I mean, it could be as close in terms of end to end as the cup game, because they're both quality. But I fear that Cardiff will thrive off that home advantage and feed off that defeat, and it will be really tough for Wrexham to match that, I think.
So, Jamie, this has been rescheduled to a Saturday at 3 p.m. I can't see a reason why it's been rescheduled. Apparently there is a reason, but nobody's telling us. Both teams have to agree for it to be rescheduled. So Wrexham have agreed to it, but I think it's very, very poor to have an away game where Wrexham fans will travel. They will travel. And you've basically taken that away for a lot of people, because a lot of people are saying, some are saying, well, it's the Charlton game and I've already bought tickets for the Charlton game, so I'm going to have to go to that. A lot of people are saying, well, my daughter or my son plays football on a Saturday and I have to have a look. I have to go to their game, whereas if it was on a Sunday, it wouldn't be a problem. I mean, how poor is this scheduling? And are you suspicious? I'm suspicious in my head, the same as I was suspicious when Swansea called off their game. Is this a way to try and trip Wrexham up, to basically get Cardiff an advantage?
That's pretty cynical mind to come up with that. I think there's more to this one than the Swansea one. I think this is less likely to be cynical than the Swansea one. I think the key is the fact what you just said there, that both teams had to agree with it. I agree with your principle. It is bad scheduling because, again, particularly for a league that struggles generally for attendance, shall we say, by having this at the same time as the men's first team games on a Saturday does seem poor. However, without knowing the reason, it's hard to have too much of a two-footed judgment, because it might be a genuine reason.
But you've just hit the nail on the head, right? These are the two best teams in our land now, and you've put their game scheduling wise against the EFL.
I agree. The thing for me, which I think is, like I said,
in fact, you've also put it against the JD Cymru, because JD Cymru are playing at 5 o'clock as well, because Scorio are covering a game live at 5 o'clock.
The thing is, like I say, without knowing the reason, it's hard to have a full judgment. However, the fact that they've not given the reason suggests to me it's something really stupid. Which, because if it was something, Christ, I don't know, if it was something legit or something genuine, and if you said to people, we're moving it because of this, and that people's reactions will be, oh, actually, yeah, that makes sense. I can understand why you've done that. But the fact they've not said is really sus to me as to what is it then? Is it something really trivial?
So here's one out of left field, Daz. Sunday obviously is Dydd Gwyl St David's Day. Royalty come in on a Sunday, and that's something to do with it.
Could be. I mean, it happens most years, and so to have extra people in Cardiff. But But the numbers of I would challenge the numbers we're dealing with here, because yes, Wrexham fans will travel for the women's game on a Sunday, but the numbers aren't astronomical in that sense. And equally, your men's game is away as well. Had it been home, a lot of your Wrexham stalwarts would then be at the Kairos, whereas I'm not entirely sure how many of the travelling fans of Charlton that prepare to go to Charlton are the same fans that would be travelling.
I think you'd be surprised.
No, I'm not saying there aren't any, but I would say I would be surprised about the percentage, because stalwart away fans, most clubs, it's they're do or dies, because they are the ones that are prepared to travel. I haven't seen enough evidence to suggest that they're the ones that also support the women's game.
Well, listen, right? I've made the choice, right? I've made the choice. There's my Charlton Athletic ticket.
Uh-oh.
So I'm not going to Charlton. I'm going to the Cardiff game because I want to support the women. But I just think it's terrible that I've been put in that position where I've had to throw away 30 quid.
No, I agree that you shouldn't be put in that position, but I do think in terms of impact, I'm not sure it's as significant, but you're right. Your Wrexham is a good, well supported family club who may well have fans that travel to both.
Got any sellotape, by the way? Isn't he got any sellotape?
Yeah. You could have sold that. You could have sold that had you not done that. So,
it's all right.
That's the caddy in me thinking, money.
So time for the salt vinegar and sauce score. Daz, what's your score prediction for Cardiff City Women versus Wrexham Women?
Okay. I'm going to predict the same as I did last week. And I am going to go for Cardiff 3, Wrexham 2.
Jamie, what's your score prediction for Cardiff City Women versus Wrexham Women?
I also have gone for Cardiff City 3, Wrexham 2. I think the key to this is what you said before, is the fact that this hurt them on Sunday. And I think Daz summed it up perfectly. I'm not saying they will win the war come the end of the season, but I think in this battle, I think we may have to concede. I just think that they will be so smarting from last Sunday. They're back at home. I think they'll want to put it right.
This has been so difficult. This has been so difficult for me. I'm going to say Cardiff City 1, Wrexham 1. I'm going to hope for the draw, because that would be. I agree with you. I agree with everything you say. And I'm expecting a massive, lash back from Cardiff, because, as you say, they've been hurt. I watched their faces as at the end taking their runners-up middles. They were not happy at all, and it was something they were not used to. So there's going to be a reaction. You can guarantee it. It's how well we managed to ground ourselves after celebrating on Sunday, and so I'm going to go the draw, but I could see a Cardiff win. I really could. We'll wait and see. I think it's going to be a great game, whatever, which is fantastic. And whether it gets streamed or not is the other thing, because the Wrexham men's game gets streamed. I don't know whether I don't know whether we can run 2 streams at once. We'll find out. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And last is the fry tonight. It's Czechia Women. So Cymru Women kick off their road to the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup with the opening fixture of Group B1, travelling to the Czech Republic to take on Czechia on Tuesday, 3rd of March, kick-off 5:30 p.m. GMT. Czechia ranked 31 in the world. Last year they played 11, won 5, drew 1, lost 5. Cymru currently ranked 32 in the world. 2025, they played 13, won just that last game, 3-2 versus Switzerland in the friendly. They drew 3 and lost 9, but a lot of those games were League A fixtures before the relegation and in the Euros tournament against the likes of the Netherlands, France, and England. So very, very high opposition. Last time these two sides met was in a friendly in 2019, where they drew 0-0. And the chips are done. So, Daz, obviously, we've seen the squad, decent squad, post Jess Fishlock, as we say. I don't know how long we can keep saying that now, because that now starts to fall away, even though she, as I say, she has taken up a role within the coaching. It is away for the first game, but you hear all the positive things coming from Rian Wilkinson. She's sort of saying, the players are so eager to get on the pitch. It's a new start for them. Surely then it's going to be tough, but we're hoping for a positive performance.
I imagine I imagine there'll be a positive performance. I think they'll be driven. They'll be up for it. I think there'll be a lot of learning from the experience of going to a major tournament. And I know we haven't necessarily seen that in a couple of friendlies. But that's because we were also playing some experimental sides. We were playing out in Spain. We were doing, it's not the same. Now, going away to Czechia, of course, is I don't see that being an easy feat. Not many teams go there and win. It's certainly in the last few years. In terms, they were in the Nations League B last. So there was some tight. Some challenge, some really good results, but some challenging ones as well. I mean, they were to a couple of 1-0s and 1-0s against Ukraine, and that's a team that we know we play. If we're looking for benchmarks, there's some consistency there, which kind of then is reinforced by what you're saying, 32nd and 31st in the world rankings. They've also lost to Switzerland, and we've also played Switzerland. So there's a lot to suggest that this is going to be a tight game, and whether or not going to a tough away ground as going to the Czech Republic will be. But I just think I trust Wilco as a proper student of the game. I do think that she's got so much experience. I mean, we can't forget how phenomenal a player she was. I think we sometimes underestimate the experiences she's had with national sides and coaching, with all the turmoil that she's also had. But she she has been involved in some amazing setups. She knows how to organize a camp. She knows how to get the most out of a team. And I love the way that she's bringing through the youth. I think the legacy of some of the great players that we've got still playing will still be there. Sophie Ingles, off the back of a huge injury, layoff that she had last year, is now playing again for Bristol, I think, not Chelsea, which is a shame. But that's a player coming to the end of her career, but still has got so much to offer. You've got players really, really competing well in the WSL. So I think a mixture of all of that experience and the youth and a wise head who's really building something. I mean, the qualification was absolutely phenomenal as an experience as well as heartbreaking. And I think we will have learned from it. Nobody thought we'd go there and win that tournament. I think we hoped we'd get at least some decent performances, and but they're tough opponents. England. Let's not forget that they're champions. They're
champions twice.
We were never going to win those games off the back of that experience. So I think there's a lot to be learned from that journey. I think this is a real good test, level test, and I think there's all the potential to compete and match a team of the equal quality. It's just whether or not can they handle the being away. I think that's a really tough place to go.
So time for this hot vinegar and sauce cork. I'll go first on this one. I think it's going to be Czechia 1, Cymru 2. I think the Cymru women are going to make a statement. I think compared to last year, I think they've done a reset. I thought the Switzerland game, even though it was a friendly, was a fantastic display. I thought they were excellent, and I think they have got over that Jess Fishlock leaving thing now, and they're starting to rebuild. They're back in League B, so that'll start to get back into those winning ways because they're going to play the likes of Montenegro, which is going to be an opposition where they should manage to get some wins. Although I think this is, as I say, this is going to be a tough game, and I think it's going to be very, very close. But I think we're going to edge it 2-1. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Czechia women versus Cymru women?
I'll go for a 2-1 Cymru win, I think.
Daz, what's your score prediction for Czechia women versus Cymru women?
I've got to find another result now. This league is okay.
It's not nice when you're not winning it by miles, is it? It's not nice at all.
I know. I got to pay more attention next year. I took my eye off the ball this year.
Yeah, definitely.
I just thought it was easy.
You've handed it to him. Look at that face in the middle. Look at him. You've handed it to him.
I'm not taking anything for granted.
Not until he's so many points ahead. Okay. It's good that this is the first game of the tournament. I think they get the toughest one out of the way. So I think that's going to be massive. I just don't know if we can keep a clean sheet. Don't know if we can keep. Go on, let's just do it. 2-0, Cymru.
So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm, and we'll review all these 3 games in next week's pod. Okay, put away the box of tissues. It's all over for another week. No, not for that, Daz. I'm talking about for tears. God, you're sick. You're sick. Next week, we look back, obviously, at the Cardiff City versus Women versus Wrexham Women, Wrexham Men away at Charlton Athletic, and Cymru Women away at Czechia. And we look forward to the big one, the massive one, round 5 of the FA Cup, as Wrexham host the World Club champions Chelsea at the Stoke Kairos. Cymru Women back on home soil in the World Cup qualifier versus Montenegro. Wrexham Women again take on Cardiff City Women, this time in the semi-final of the Energy Welsh Cup at beautiful Aberystwyth on a Sunday. Looking forward to that one. And Wrexham Men are at home midweek to Hull City. Please let us know in the usual ways, usual channels on social media, YouTube, Spotify, whatever it may be. Nail it to a tree, or make it into a paper airplane and float it over. Which any way you want to send it to the message to us, we always we welcome your thoughts, your comments, your questions, or just taking the mickey out of me for crying a lot. It's up to you. Of course, as usual, can't do it without these two legends. Thank you, Jamie.
Pleasure. Stop crying.
And of course, thank you, Daz.
You're welcome.
Massive congratulations to the Wrexham Women. I am so happy. I've been so happy this week. It's incredible how positive football can affect your mental health, because definitely a big tick from that point of view. And obviously Wrexham Men beating Ipswich. And of course, let's carry that on, please, because I guarantee you next week I'll be in the doldrums if we don't do well. But until next week, come on, Cymru, and come on the town.
Clinton, 1-0. Thomas, after like a goal. That's number 5.
Plays it through to Bellamy. Craig Bellamy. It's 2-1 Wales. Craig Bellamy. Tony Hughes for Wrexham into the lead.
And that's it. Wrexham are champions. Wrexham are champions. Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013.
Alex Cross, great ball. Equaliser. Elliot Lee.
Back to back promotions. Oh, can you believe it?
The Eat More Chips Podcast.